right, we'll reconvene in regular session. Mr. City Attorney, do you have anything to report?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. No, the City Council's returned from closed session with no actions to report.
Thank you. If you can all join us, Mayor Pro Tem Hasselbrink will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by Councilmember Hibbard with the invocation.
Please join me as we honor our flag as a symbol of our amazing country. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, we come before you tonight and we just pause. Our days are busy. Our summers have a lot going on, Lord God. You know the depths of our hearts. And here we are at City Hall in Los Alamitos, Lord God. It's an honor to sit here, to be up here, to serve the residents, the business owners, the community here in Los Al. Lord, thank you for everyone that we're honoring and recognizing today. So much hard work goes on that is never seen, Lord, so it's special that we get to honor people when honor is due, and it's certainly due tonight. Lord, I pray that you go over our discussions tonight. May kindness and wisdom come out of our mouths. Lord God, may truth come out of our mouths. Lord, we pray that we honor you through this public service, through what we're doing here. We pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Okay, got a full house. We have some presentations here, and the first one is the presentation of awards to the 2023 Annual Police Honorees. Chief Claiborne, if I can invite you to the front.
Yes, what would you like?
There we go. Okay. Sorry for the delay. All right. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for attending this evening and sharing this opportunity for us to acknowledge some amazing work that is done, not only by people in the community, but also by people within the police department. So we're going to start off today with the Chiefs Award. So this award, the first award, is being presented to someone for their selfless act of generosity. So this person single-handedly took it upon themselves to do something to make all of our community safer. This selfless act shouldn't surprise anyone when I tell you who it is, because he's been doing things like this ever since he moved into the Los Alamitos and Rossmore community. When making a donation to the Los Alamitos Community Foundation, the donor was quoted as saying, and I quote, "I have been in Los Alamitos for 60 years. I love Los Alamitos." The officers themselves nominate the recipients for these annual awards, and they felt one of the 2024 Los Alamitos Police Department Chiefs Award should go to Kenny Brandeberry. Thank you very much, sir. Would you like to say a few words?
Thank you very much.
He's exactly right what he said about the city of Los Alamitos. I love this city. 62 years I've been here now, and I will hope to be here for another 22, but maybe I won't be. But next month I'll be 86, though, and still rocking, so. But anyhow, just makes me so happy to see what we have in Los Alamitos. Look at all of us sitting there with the smiles and stuff, which you don't see anymore. That's why I love Los Alamitos. Thank you.
So for those of you who don't know, Kenny generously donated the money that started the Los Alamitos PD Canine Foundation. So we currently have a canine in this department because of Kenny. And Kenny did not know that he was getting this award. That's why he was surprised. He thought he was coming here for something else. So I have a tendency of doing that, so sorry. But Kenny has been doing stuff like this. He's been on the board of the Casa Youth Shelter for over 4 decades. So this is nothing new for all of us who know Kenny, but for those of you who don't, he has been giving, he is the most selfless man you'll ever meet. So once again, thank you, Kenny. I appreciate it. Can we get all the CASA members up here to join us for a quick photo? If you want to.
Thank you, Chief.
Sorry, Kenny, sorry. Kenny, back up here. I knew I was going to forget this. That's why I had to write it down. See, somebody had to remind me. Even though I wrote it down, I still forget because I'm not paying attention. But we also have our local elected representatives that are here today that wanted to acknowledge all of the great work that everyone is doing here in this community. So we have representatives from Assemblyman Tree Taw's office, Congresswoman Michelle Steele's office, and Senator Janet Wynn's office. So if you all could come forward, please.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Zachary Hargy. I'm here on behalf of Congresswoman Michelle Steele, the proud congressional representative for the city of Los Alamitos. And on her behalf here today, I just have a certificate of congressional recognition thanking you for all that you've done for our community, for the police department, and everything else in between. So thank you so much.
Hi, Kenny. Michelle, on behalf of Assemblyman Trita, thank you also for everything that you do for Los Alamitos, for the police department. I think I've been here 4 times honoring you, and it's not enough. I hope I'll be here more. I think next time we're going to have like an honorary badge or something for you, I hope. But you're very much appreciated, so thank you.
Thank you.
And congratulations on the award.
Thank you.
Thank you. You want me to hold it or you got it?
Hello, Kenny. My name is Joe Pena, District Representative for Senator Janet Wynn. Just want to congratulate you for this honor. Your passion is infectious within the city. So on behalf of Senator Janet Wynn, congratulations on being an honoree tonight, this evening.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Kenny. All right. Let's see. We have one more Chiefs Award. This award should warm your heart because it shows the humility of all of the law enforcement personnel who felt that one of the 2024 Los Alamitos Police Department Chiefs Awards should go to a member of the Public Works Department. Jose Mendoza, can you please come join me? Okay, Jose, let's see, I'm gonna have lead foreman Luis Reyes join me up here so he can help me translate. Porque mi español es muy más o menos, okay? I wanna make sure you understand everything I'm telling you. Okay, let's see. So I received several nominations from police officers who appreciates all that Jose has done.
He recibido muchas nominaciones de diferentes policías que aprecian lo que usted hace.
And I am gonna list some of the things here that officers have said in their nominations.
Y él va a hacer una lista de las cosas que los policías han dicho en sus nominaciones.
Jose always has a smile on his face and is always happy to be at work.
José siempre tiene una sonrisa en su cara y siempre está feliz de estar en el trabajo.
Jose is always willing to help with anything that is asked of him.
Entonces siempre está dispuesto a ayudar de lo que cualquier cosa que le
Once in the middle of the night, he chopped up a tree that was blocking the roadway in the city. Jose shows up for his shifts with a smile and works hard to keep the police station clean. Jose has responded after hours, whether it's to cut and remove large trees that have fallen due to high winds or unclogging city storm drains to relieve flooded conditions.
horas de la noche se ha presentado para ya sea cortar árboles o destapar, como cuando se está inundando la ciudad.
Jose has come to work with a positive attitude and has worked diligently to make our department and city look clean.
Siempre ha venido con una actitud positiva y ha trabajado fuertemente para que la ciudad se mantenga y el departamento limpio.
He is one of the friendliest people I know, and he always arrives with a smile on his face and a happy greeting for his coworkers.
Es la persona más feliz que conocen ustedes.
Jose's great attitude and attention to detail make him an asset to the city.
Su gran actitud y su atención al detalle es lo que le hace una gran ejemplo para esta ciudad.
And something I'm sure each of you can see is the humility that he has and how much the police department appreciates the hard work that he does each and every day. And it is for these reasons, with great pleasure, that we respectfully submit the nomination for Jose Mendoza for a Chiefs Award.
Jose, on behalf of Assemblyman Trita, we want to congratulate you. Thank you for all your hard work and for the smile that you bring the department every day.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take a quick picture.
On behalf of Congresswoman Michelle Steele, we just want to thank you for all that you've done, and thank you so much for chopping down that tree in the middle of the night. Yeah.
On behalf of California State Senator Janet Nguyen, congratulations, and thank you for all the hard work you do every day for the city. Felicidades.
Gracias, señor. All right, we're moving on. Next is going to be Citizen of the Year. So there are many layers involved in creating true community safety. And this community has embraced community engagement, which is the relationship between law enforcement and its residents. But one layer that most often goes unnoticed is the relationship between the law enforcement and the business community. When the need for that relationship is identified and then nurtured, the community will reap the benefits as the relationship acts as a force multiplier to keep the feeling of safety that our residents get to feel. And the officers with the police department felt that the 2024 Los Alamitos Police Department Citizen of the Year should be awarded to, hope I get the last name right, Scott Burier? Close enough? Okay, come on up and join me, Scott. Okay, let's see. Burier and French. Okay. So a suspect scammed a pastor in Louisiana out of his life savings of $15,000 in cash. Scott was made aware of what was referred to as an Amazon scam via a bulletin that was released by CBS. Now, the bulletin detailed specific markings that might be found on such a fraudulent package. Scott was sharp enough to recognize those markings on the pastor's package and intercepted it before it could be picked up by the suspect. As a result, the pastor was able to get half of his savings back. So once again, Scott, thank you very much for all your work.
some of the reasons why I identified, because that's just unfortunately one incident. There's been several. If you go to Trilogy Media on YouTube, that's how I found how you identify packages, what scammers unfortunately tell victims how to package. You know, it's always duct tape or wrap it like a Christmas present, send it next day air. So I was educated, and then I just passed it down to my employees, because sometimes, unfortunately, these victims' packages have come to my store when I'm off. So thankfully, from my getting educated and then educating my employees has saved quite a few victims' money. And I appreciate it if you're a patron at my store.
And then also joining us is Scott's.
Corporate investigators. Scott, on behalf of the CVS Pharmacy, thank you so much for your efforts and your leadership.
All right, so next we have Employee of the Year. So the Los Alamitos Police Department is made up of sworn personnel and professional staff personnel. The professional staff perform tasks such as facilitating our Red Flex red light camera systems, records, property and evidence, traffic, the PD front counter, and even working out of the office of the chief. But I have received more nominations this year for the 2024 Los Alamitos Police Department Employee of the Year than any other award. And I'm going to list a couple of things that were mentioned in these nominations. I caught her doing 3 jobs simultaneously. Although she was running herself ragged, she still managed to smile through it. One of Belinda's most impressive achievements this year is her role in establishing our new volunteer program. She has played an instrumental role in policy development, implementing the volunteer training program, facilitating the orientation and onboarding process, and supervising the volunteers in their day-to-day operations. I have often seen her take on extra work to help her partners without being given direction. In 2023, the department undertook several efforts to improve infrastructure, which presented some workflow challenges for record staff. Belinda maintained a positive attitude during that time and always offered thoughtful solutions as challenges were presented. Belinda stepped up and helped develop the day-to-day operation of the Volunteer in Policing program in 2023. She developed training manuals and co-led an orientation of the newly organized VIPT program. Her work was executed with professionalism, excellence, and meticulous attention to detail. Police Aide Roman has demonstrated her commitment to the Los Alamitos Police Department through a multitude of actions. An example of this is her undertaking the Volunteers in Policing program, where she has helped coordinate, monitor, and train these individuals in the tasks and roles they play within our agency. She goes above and beyond to make sure our needs are met within the department and takes pride in her work. She has a positive outlook and has truly added benefit to the department. Please join me in recognizing the 2024 Employee of the Year, Belinda Roman.
I didn't get a chance to speak at the awards dinner, but I would like to say thank you. And for anybody who nominated me, I appreciate the nomination, and I appreciate that you guys see the work that I do to the department, because I love and enjoy working at this department. I like to thank everybody and all my coworkers for making it a great place to work with. Thank you.
Did it last time. I don't want to do it again. Come on up, guys.
Belinda, on behalf of California State Senator Janet Nguyen, thank you for all you do, your servant leadership, and all the hard work and long hours that you put into the Los Alamitos Police Department. Congratulations.
Hi, Belinda. Michelle again with State Assemblyman Trita. Thank you so much for all that you do and being part of this department and obviously a very big part of the team. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Last recognition, just want to go and again parrot what my colleagues have said. Thank you so much for all that you do in the department, for our community, and for the residents here in Los Al.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
All right, last award. And I don't think this next award needs a preamble. So without further ado, the 2024 Los Alamitos Police Department Officer of the Year goes to Officer Joel Espinoza. Please come forward. Now, I want to share with you some of the things that were written in some of the nominations for Officer Espinoza. I have received multiple investigations from him. Throughout every report I have received from him, his level of detail in gathering facts and investigative material has been unmatched. He consistently turns in stellar work that is of the level of a much more tenured officer. He strives to solve his cases on his own before having them reach the Detective Bureau, and in many cases has successfully investigated a multitude of crimes and gained successful prosecution. Officer Espinoza is humble in his interactions with others and often seeks guidance or assistance from his fellow senior officers, myself included, to further his growth as an officer and to become an effective investigator. This type of resourcefulness has set him apart as a tenacious officer who is often driven to make a difference in the community day in and day out. In law enforcement, we can often be quick to criticize each other. But in every conversation where Officer Espinoza has been the focal point, I have only heard of positive interactions that are consistent with my own interactions with him. Of the few opportunities I have had to work in a patrol assignment with him, it has always been an absolute pleasure. I am confident in his abilities not only as an officer, but as a partner who I trust with my life. Officer Espinoza has worked hard since being released as a solo police officer. He successfully completed his probationary officer status and has shown his abilities and attributes related to police work through his proactive nature. Officer Espinoza has been a positive member of this organization and of his fellow officers. He is someone who can be relied on, believes in the mission of the Los Alamitos Police Department, and sets up to help his fellow officers. So I could not be prouder of his accomplishments, and I look forward to what his assignments in his career might lead him. But I do know that he is only limited by his own imagination and drive. I truly believe that he can do whatever he would like to do once he sets his mind to it. So once again, join me in congratulating the 2024 Los Alamitos Department Officer of the Year, Joel Espinoza.
I just want to say thank you for all my partners that voted for me or, said those kind words. We all do great work in the police department, and I just feel that, everyone there is deserving of this reward because we all do great work and, we all come in dedicated to the community. So thank you guys.
Officer Espinoza, thank you so much for all that you do in the police department and for our community, keeping our residents here and the greater community safe. So congratulations on this award.
Officer Espinoza, on behalf of Assemblyman Trita, congratulations. This is a really, really big award and a big accomplishment, and it is recognized and noted, so congratulations. Thanks for all your work.
Officer Espinoza, thank you so much for all the hard work you do in keeping our community safe here and just around the greater community. So congratulations on this spectacular honor. Congratulations.
Okay, for the next part of the presentation, I'm going to call up the operations captain. That'd be Captain Luke South.
Thank you, sir. As Chief mentioned, I'm Captain Luke South. I've been with Los Al PD for about 15 months, but I've been in law enforcement for about 27 years. And one of my favorite things is going to the graduations and seeing the new recruits come into the law enforcement community. So today I have the honor of badge pinning and swearing in of Mason Peacock. If you come forward, please. So I'll start off with a few words about Mason. He's 32 years old, the middle of 3 sons to his parents, Glenn and Elaine. He's now a 3rd-generation police officer. His maternal grandmother, Constance Warland, was a dispatcher for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, as well as a reserve deputy at the Carson Station. Her name is carved into the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C., and she holds the unfortunate title of being the first female reserve officer in the U.S. to make the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. His father, Glenn, worked for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department for 30 years, retiring as a sergeant. His older brother, Ryan, is currently a deputy for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department as well. Growing up, Officer Peacock always had an interest in joining law enforcement. He was a police cadet for the Brea Police Department, and he obtained a bachelor's degree in psychology from Whittier College in 2014, where he took classes that focused on criminal and law enforcement psychology. He began his career in law enforcement in 2017 when he was hired as a dispatcher with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department in the same building and room as his grandmother once did. During his time dispatching, he attended pastry school at Cypress College and also earned his master's degree in Homeland Security and Emergency Management from National University in La Jolla, California. When he's not working, he enjoys remaining active and can often be found on the side of a mountain or next to any body of water that he can find. Officer Peacock has a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he is excited to return to the mats now that the police academy is over. Also enjoys baking, cooking, and trying to find the state's best cup of coffee where he can sit and continue planning his wedding with his fiancée, Alexa. Officer Peacock is grateful to the city, community, and citizens of Los Alamitos for this opportunity and is excited to be of service. Clap. All right, at this time I would like to invite his fiancée Alexa up for badge pinning. All right, and now for the oath of office. There's no backing out now. All right, raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Mason Peacock,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you. So now we have presentations for the Los Alamitos of the Quarter, Employee of the Quarter. And let me. Okay, the City of Los Alamitos has implemented an Employee of the Quarter Awards program to recognize full-time employees for their outstanding work performance. This program is designed to honor individuals who have strong work ethic, exhibit quality customer service to patrons, and have performed excellent work in their individual department or citywide. This quarter, the first quarter, we had a tie, so there's two recipients. The first recipient is Ariana Enciso, who's the Administrative Management Analyst. And unfortunately, Ariana couldn't be here with us tonight, but I would still like to say a few words about her. Ariana demonstrates every quality in all aspects of her role as Management Analyst. She works quickly and efficiently in assisting the Recreation Department with their hiring needs and HR questions, and always has a smile. She is clear and concise in her instructions and formats. She is open to new ideas and help make their processes and procedures run more smoothly. She is just so very nice and easy to work with and deserves the Employee of the Quarter. So unfortunately, she couldn't be here tonight, but if we can get a round of applause for her. And then our second recipient, who is here, is Danny Wang, who's the finance assistant. If I can have Danny come up. So Danny is from the finance department, and Danny is consistently demonstrating exceptional dedication, expertise, and leadership in managing financial operations and contributing to not only the finance department, but the city as a whole. Danny proactively identifies opportunities for process improvement and efficiency within the city and the finance department, implementing innovative solutions that enhance productivity and reduce costs. And on behalf of the city, I'd just like to say congratulations. Do you want to say anything? No? Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zachariah. On behalf of Congresswoman Michelle Steele, thank you so much for all that you do for the city. Looking out for, contingencies and all that good stuff, all the numbers that I'm not good at. So thank you so much for all that you do. Congratulations.
Danny, on behalf of California State Senator Janet Nguyen, thank you for all the hard work you do, the many hats you wear day in, day out. So just on behalf of the Senator, congratulations.
All right, one more round of applause. Okay, we have one more presentation tonight, and this is by Connor Medina from the Regional Public Affairs Manager with the League of California Cities, Orange County Division, who will be providing us with a legislative update.
Well, thank you, Mayor Nafolda, honorable city council members. It's great to be here tonight. I'm Connor Medina. I am the Regional Public Affairs Manager for the Orange County Division of the League of California Cities, or Cal Cities. So nice to be here in Los Al tonight with you. I'm going to provide a brief legislative update, but first, just a brief overview. I know you're all familiar with Cal Cities, but been around for 125 years, 476 members statewide, 31 of which are in Orange County. We're your advocate in Sacramento, statewide and federally, fighting to preserve local control alongside our members. There's a lot of ways to get involved in Cal Cities, and you are all very involved, this council and this staff, Chet, Emmeline, Ron, Wendy, a very involved city. One of the most involved, I'd say, out of all of Orange County. So I really appreciate and feel blessed to have Los Al be as engaged as you are. But there's plenty of opportunities to get even further involved. So if you think you have too much free time, just give me a ring and I will find something that I think would be valuable for Los Al to be a part of. And then briefly just touching on the ROI of your membership. For each dollar that Los Al has invested over the past 6 fiscal years, $239 have been returned through the advocacy that Cal Cities has fought for and has won for you. So when we just crunch it down to the numbers, there's a huge return from that alone, making sure that your investment in Cal Cities is providing a fantastic return. So for the legislative update, I'm just going to zero in on two really hot button policy areas. I could yap all day up here about everything that we're tracking, but I don't think any of us want that. So I'm just going to focus on public safety and housing. So turning to public safety, the Assembly and the Senate proposed a retail theft package earlier this year. Cal Cities was supportive of it and remains supportive of it, but there was a bit of a tricky road last month that we had to maneuver through. So these are the bills, aside from AB 2943, which we are supportive of if amended. We are supportive of all these bills. One of them has an urgency clause, meaning that it will take effect immediately once signed, but the rest of them will take effect next year. And the path to get here was fraught, to say the least. So the retail theft package was moving along. It was supported by Cal Cities and public safety organizations. And then eventually, along the way, when the ballot measure, the Drug Addiction, Retail Theft, and Homelessness Reduction Act was qualified, the legislature did a little bit of finagling here and added some clauses that were not favorable to those that were supportive of this package. Language that would render that package inoperative if that initiative was passed. Eventually, with feedback from our membership, our Public Safety Policy Committee, Cal Cities did shift to a neutral position on this package because of that inoperative clause language. Language that from our perspective only affected language that was overstepping because from our perspective, only 3 of these bills actually had any conflict with the measure that was being proposed on a related issue, but touching different areas. So we shifted to neutral, and after pushback from Cal Cities, pushback from other public safety organizations, the legislature did eventually remove those clauses, and we restored our support. So a difficult road to get there, but we're back to square one, and that's a good spot to be. So we're supportive of that, and we also recently, our board took a support position on Proposition 36, the Homelessness, Drug Addiction, and Retail Theft Reduction Act, providing more accountability for those that are committing smash and grab robberies, more accountability for fentanyl traffickers. So we're supportive of all the above when it comes to improving public safety in our communities, and certainly need our members in lockstep with us along the way. I'm happy to send you draft letters on supporting any of the bills that were mentioned earlier. But making sure that we restore public safety in our communities is the utmost priority for Cal Cities and our members. And then on housing and community and economic development, this is the policy committee that we are so fortunate to have Councilmember Doby serve as one of Orange County's 2 appointees for that committee. So thank you for your time, Councilwoman. Housing element bills, there's 2 of them, AB 1886 and AB 1893 that I'll highlight today. But there's legislation that would impact your next cycle for your housing element. So specifically with AB 1886, truncating the timeline that you would need to get it approved before the builder's remedy comes into play. That's really alarming for us. Currently, you can self-certify if you are going to, if you need to self-certify, right? If you don't have the time to have HCD do the full review process, you can say, we're meeting all the standards that we need to meet, we're self-certifying, and then the court and HCD and you will eventually come to an agreement on whether or not you are in compliance. And that protects you from the builder's remedy taking effect. Under this language, though, that would no longer be a tool that you can use, removing a tool from your toolbox, but is essential to safeguarding your city from the builder's remedy and removing all local control from developments in your community. So we're raising the alarm bells for this one. Certainly want all of our cities to be engaged on it. And AB 1893 is a related bill. It's intended to clarify some of the confusing aspects of builder's remedy as it relates to housing element law. Unfortunately, as it's written, it creates more confusion, not less, and it creates more issues and ambiguities that cities will have to navigate. So we're trying to clear that up. We're opposed unless amended. But those are 2 bills that we certainly should be keeping our eye on. Cal Cities is tracking them, and I encourage the city of Los Alamitos. If you haven't already, your team is very on top of it, getting letters in. So you may already have positions on these ones. But certainly encourage that you watch these ones. And then sorry, my microphone's going in and out on me.
Sorry.
I'll try to project. There's a land use bill. When you are planning, let me just see if that fixes anything. I'll just project if that's okay, Mayor.
Well, it won't video, does that matter? They won't catch you over here without my.
Testing. Yeah, it's kind of dying on me.
Okay,
There we go. Thank you so much. So, AB 3093, when you're planning your arena, you have your range of incomes that you're planning for, right? This would add 2 new ones on the lowest end of the spectrum. The problem that we see with this bill is that when you're planning your arena, you're already accounting for the needs of those individuals. You're already accounting for the need for things like emergency shelters. So we were quoted in Politico kind of stating the obvious here. If you're going to add this mandate, then you need to give us money for the plan. You need to make sure that we can meet that. And you need to make sure that these mandates aren't redundant. And unfortunately, as written, this bill does not address that. It is still, unfortunately, in the form that it was a couple months back when we were ringing the alarm about this. And we're going to continue working with the author and with HCD to try to make this language more in line with what they think it says. What they think it does is simply a reporting bill. It gives them more data. The way we read it, it gives you a lot more work for things that you're already doing. So this is another problematic bill that we are really honing in on. But a victory that we had recently from the Supreme Court, Grants Pass versus Oregon. In that case, the court ruled that cities can enforce anti-camping ordinances. We submitted an amicus brief multiple times while this was going through the process. We urged the Supreme Court to hear the case. When the court was hearing it, we submitted arguments alongside the counties association, highlighting how much work the cities are doing to address this issue. We are using all of these different tools to help reduce the homeless population and make sure that we're providing these services and that we're providing a holistic approach to this issue. But taking away that tool from our toolbox really hurts us when it comes to ensuring public safety and public health. So having that back is just one component, right? We still need a lot more. We're advocating to still, even though we didn't get it in the budget last year, we didn't get the budget this year, advocating for an ongoing source of funding directly to cities for homelessness. The state does give us bits and pieces every year, and we definitely appreciate any funding, but not having that permanent ongoing source of funding limits the predictability that your city staff has when they are planning responses to homelessness and planning solutions. So making sure that we have that, it continues to be one of our major calls to the legislature. So I'll wrap up with just a couple upcoming events. On August 22nd in Garden Grove, we'll have our division meeting and our board election. So Mayor Nafolda, I certainly encourage you to attend to be Los Alamitos' vote in that board election. But I sent that out a bit ago. I'll be sending out more information as we get closer to the event, but I encourage you all to register. And then our annual conference, our biggest event in the year, 2,000 plus city officials from all over the state will be coming to Long Beach. So we're gonna be in Long Beach this year, and then Long Beach next year, and then Anaheim the year after. So I'm making travel as easy as possible for you guys. With that, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate the opportunity to be here in Los Al. I'm happy to answer any questions tonight, anytime in the future. My contact info is there. But really appreciate all that Los Al is doing. It's great to see all the things that are happening in your city and to do what I can to help make that progress happen even faster. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I think you've been with Cal Cities about a year now.
Just past a year, yeah.
Just past a year, congratulations.
Flew by.
And throughout the county, nothing but council members singing your praises. So thank you for your dedication to all that you're doing. Your reputation really precedes you, so thank you.
Thank you.
No other questions? All right, thank you very much, Connor.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, now we move on to oral communications. At this time, any individual in the audience may come forward to speak on any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Remarks are to be limited to not more than 5 minutes per speaker, and if you intend to come up and speak, I just request that you fill out the speaker card, there should be cards at the podium. Do we have anybody here that wants to say anything? Okay. Updates from the mayor. So we have our summer concert, which we call Concerts in the Park, which alternates between Little Cottonwood Park and Orville R. Lewis Park, sponsored by community sponsor Randy W. Hill. These concerts occur on Thursdays, with remaining dates July 25th, August 1st, and August 8th from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. The concerts in the park have vendor booths, food booths, and a beverage garden with proceeds benefiting the Los Alamitos Community Foundation. The foundation provides funding to enhance programs and services offered through the city to benefit the residents of Los Alamitos. Visit the city's website at www.cityoflosalamitos.org for locations and band information. I've gone to a couple concerts and they're really fun. People do enjoy the, I call it the beer garden, but the beverage booth, so come out and join us. Serve Los Al. Join us for citywide volunteer service event on September 13th through 14th. We need your help to volunteer and assist in completing projects at local nonprofits and parks within the city of Los Alamitos. Serve Los Al is an event where our city pulls together in unison to make an impact within our community. Sign up for a project with your family at www.servelosal.org. The Senior Services Master Plan Survey. The City of Los Alamitos has taken on the ambitious goal of producing a senior services master plan for residents aged 50 and older. This plan, one of the first of its kind, sets out to create a program, planning, and implementation model catering to the wants and needs of older adults in the City of Los Alamitos and its surrounding communities. We invite all community members who are currently 40 years of age or older to participate in the survey to help us shape the next 20-plus years of aging services in Los Alamitos. The survey should take approximately 20 minutes to complete, and you will have an opportunity to be entered into a drawing for a gift card to a Los Alamitos business or restaurant. All questions are optional. You may skip any you choose not to answer, and you can remain anonymous if preferred. And the last one is the Senior Expo. Join the Los Alamitos Recreation and Community Services Department for our Memorial Care Elevate Encore Senior Expo, an informative event featuring resources and information to help you in your second act. So I keep laughing because you guys do 50 years old, and I guess I'm in my second act. I don't get it, but let's see here. I lost my place. Okay, resources will be available on housing, transportation, caregiving, leisure services, volunteer opportunities, and more. This free event will be held on Wednesday, August 21st from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the American Legion Post 716. The first 150 participants in attendance will receive a free tote bag, while all in attendance can be entered to win one of several opportunity drawings. A focus group will be held, and you have the opportunity to provide in-person input on our Senior Services Master Plan Service survey during the event. So a couple opportunities to participate and have your opinions known. Next, we have the updates from the city staff. Oh, yeah.
Just because I've seen some scuttle about the Senior Master Plan Survey and the amount of information that's being requested, so he briefly mentioned that it can be anonymous. Ms. Noda, if you could kind of just elaborate on that a little bit. How can it be anonymous so that maybe we can tap into that unreached demographic?
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Doby. So the survey is a very comprehensive survey, and the intent of that is so that we can gather all of the information that is needed to prepare this plan for the next 20 years. With knowing that you may skip over any question that you don't feel comfortable, that you don't really have input on, but select the questions that you do really feel strongly about and give us your input, because we don't want to create a plan for the next 20 years based on us just guessing what the residents want. We want to hear from the residents and have that opportunity to really voice your opinion on your future.
Does that help? So you don't have to put your name on it? I think she has Bobcat, so. You can not fill it out at all and still win a prize. I'm sorry. ask this, okay, at this time, city staff may also report on items not specifically described on the agenda that are of interest to the community.
Sir,
City
I think
manager, do you
they, I
have
think
anything
they
to
gave
report?
them all to you tonight, so.
Okay. Nothing from any staff? All right, we'll move on to warrants. We have the attached warrant register that contains checks and electronic funds transferred for the period June 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2024. Just for the record, we do have the accelerated warrant policy where the council members receive the warrants in advance, and any questions can be asked, and if asked by the deadline, the questions are responded to, and if you miss the deadline, we'll get responses by the next meeting. So at this point in time, can I get a motion for the warrants?
I'd like to say something.
Well, I'll give you your motion first.
I'd
Okay.
just like to say something before we make a motion. I missed the deadline, and I had a few residents reach out with questions for the warrant, so I did just want to submit to the city clerk's office my email. It was my fault. I want the residents to know it was my fault, so I don't have the answers for them. So wanted to let them know I appreciate it, but didn't get it in time. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. And just so you know, we are in possession of that email. It's my understanding that your answers will be addressed by the next meeting.
Thank you.
I have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Oh, it's a roll call. Okay.
Mayor Nafolda,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hasselbrink,
Aye.
Councilmember Doby,
Aye.
Councilmember Hibbard,
Abstain.
Councilmember Murphy.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Next, we have our consent calendar. All consent calendar items may be acted upon by one motion unless a council member requests separate action on a specific item. Does anybody want to pull any items?
I'd like to pull 11A, please.
Any other items? Okay, let's see here. So if I can get a motion for items 11B and C,
I will move B and C.
Second.
and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions? Any objections? Okay, the motion passes. And if we can get a did you want a staff report or?
No.
No? You have questions on 11A?
No, there should be an amendment to that because it states that there was a conference with real property negotiators, which did not occur for our last meeting under the minutes.
So for June 24th,
Yes.
we can make that amendment. Council can still approve the minutes tonight as amended.
Thank you.
Okay, can I get a motion for 11A?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions? Any objections? The item passes. Okay, we'll move on to the discussion items. The first discussion item here is item 12A. Can I get a staff report on item 12A?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just briefly, so over the past 2 to 3 years, the city and the department heads have been working on identifying different pathways for our employees to grow within the organization. What this has done is it's allowed us to tap into the skill sets that some of our employees have and to be able to use those in ways that benefit the city. One of the things that we have really been working on is identifying pathways to growth, or ways that our employees can grow within the organization. And so what we've done in consultation with the department heads is really kind of look at where are the gaps within the organization in terms of growth. I'll give you what I see as a good example, especially within the police department, is that we have a way for officers to promote from sergeant to captain, which is a monumental jump in terms of just responsibilities and such. And so we started talking about different ways that we might actually address that going forward. Is it identifying another layer within that organization that can help in order to prepare people for the captain's position? But it's also, it plays out in other departments as well, where we'll have an analyst position where we want to see them progress to a manager, but they need a step in between. And so what this item intends to do is to create those steps within the organization to allow for this growth of our employees as they mature through the organization. It's important to note that these positions that are listed here, while intended to provide that area of growth, we're not filling any of these positions. It's simply to put them on the books so that in the event that we need them further on down the road, that there is a position for these people to step into. I should mention also that in order to enact these positions, we also would be coming back to the council for approval either through a HR action, or we would do it as part of the overall budget.
Okay, any questions?
I do have a question. In regards to the California Teamsters 9/11, when there is that potential to hire the 3 positions that's listed, will that be in lieu of using the Wilton services? You know, because that's been a loss for the city.
With particular focus on the Teamsters positions?
Correct, those 3. Yeah, I just want to see if we're going to be using.
So those positions would not be supplanted, or would not supplant a Will Down contract or a Charles Abbott contract. Those are what I'll call more specialty services that we contract, and it does actually provide us a little bit of savings at the end of the day. These positions are, again, about growing the employees that we currently have in those positions in order to give them a step to what exactly is next within their current career trajectory. So the short answer is no.
No. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Can I get a motion in a second?
Sorry,
Yep.
late to the, so this adds about 10 positions. Where are you expecting the additional revenues to come from?
Well, as I mentioned, at this point, we're not filling any of these positions, so there is no cost.
When we do, where are you expecting the additional revenues to come from?
When we do, I would think that we would also, just like we do with every budget, we would ensure that we are not going above what exactly the revenue that we bring in. The nice thing about some of these positions, they would allow us to potentially eliminate other positions, so therefore creating salary savings.
Are those listed in here, what we would eliminate? Because when I was reading this, I was just hearing cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. We've got a lot of positions in here. And the budget as it is, we're about, what, 22 million. We're, pension debt, we're about 26 million in the hole. So I see the positions, I follow your logic, but I'm not following where the revenues are gonna come from when we do fill those.
And I can't tell you when we would fill them. Again, it would be part of a budget strategy that we would have to discuss with the city council and with the budget standing committee. But at this moment, there is no budgetary costs associated with any of these items. So I would say that we always take a look, I'll call it a holistic look at each one of the departments in order to see what exactly we're gaining whenever we add a position. Much like when we add a police officer, we know that the ROI on that officer is going to be a reduction in overtime spending, but it also allows us to accomplish some of the city's stated goals. So again, we would take that calculus into account if we ever were to come back and actually recommend one of these positions to you to be filled.
Do we have a ballpark, if we were to staff these 10, ballpark, what would that cost?
I do not know. And I do believe that there is a salary schedule that's attached to the back, which lines up what exactly those numbers are. But again, I would state that in no way, shape, or form are we going to fill all 10 of these positions at any time in the near future,
Why are we having it on the agenda right now?
so that we can create a pathway to show the employees where exactly their goals are in the future. It also allows, and I think this is important too, if you are building an organization that is hopefully going to self-sustain itself and give each employee a room for growth, it allows the employees to also start to think about, okay, if I want to advance to a manager position or a senior manager position, it tells me there are certain steps that I need to take in order to prepare myself for that. The trick is a lot of employees don't know what those steps are. And so by putting their job descriptions in one place allows them to read it, identify, hey, that's something I think I would like to do in the future, and then they can start taking steps themselves in order to prepare themselves for that position if it were to become available. The downside of this, and I think this might be where you're going, is the double-edged sword of this nature, is if you're preparing people for the next step and you do not have that position available, then that person might leave to seek that opportunity someplace else. Honestly, in my book, that is a win for us because we have an employee that is taken upon themselves to grow within the organization. We're gaining the benefit of their choice to try to grow themselves. And so we're getting better as they are getting better. And hopefully by the time they reach a point where they're ready to actually take that position, there is a position open for them. Obviously, we have retirements here just like any place else. We have people that go to other agencies just like any place else. This is really a move to, first of all, identify a pathway for our employees and as to how exactly they can grow within the organization, but also back that up by, no, this isn't just pie in the sky. There is an actual position that is adopted. If the organizational need is there, then we can talk about whether or not we're going to take and present that position to the city council for consideration.
My concern is that it'll end up in this fiscal year, this fiscal budget.
Well, you've already approved this year's fiscal budget.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to start hiring when we haven't budgeted for it.
Well, at this moment, like I said, I don't have any intention of filling these positions today. That being said, if the council chooses to enact this item and these become positions within our organizational schedule, it does allow me and the rest of the department heads to start to plan as to what exactly the organizational needs will be in the future. And that is really what this is. It's a planning tool in order to get ourselves there.
Okay. I'm on the fence about this one because, like I said, I'm afraid that, this fiscal year, we're going to start hiring for this, even though we're saying in the meeting we're not, because there's nothing in here saying that we're not. So I'm on the fence about this one.
No, I understand. And again, I will say this, the employee count in and of itself is something that is determined by the city council. If I want to hire another position, I have to come to you and ask for the blessing of the city council in order to do so. So ultimately, you control that number, not me.
How many are we at right now? How many employees altogether? 100 and...
Well, so full-time employees, I want to say that we are just above, I would say someplace between 80 and 95. And the reason I'm giving you ballparks is because we have positions that are actually open for recruitment right now. So having an exact number is hard. I see our general staffing levels to be adequate for what we are doing today, but it doesn't take into account new goals, new objectives that the city council might come up with in the next couple of years.
Thank
Chief?
you.
I do have a question. So if this position does get filled, does that mean that there's going to have a hiring for the position that was previously filled by that employee who's now been promoted?
That's actually kind of what I was getting to in terms of the councilwoman's question about what the overall cost is at the end of the day. Sometimes there will be positions where if a person were to advance, they would continue to do some of the duties that they were doing before, but now they're doing it at a higher capacity, which means we can add more duties to that position. And in that case, maybe we don't need to backfill. Another example is there is positions where now that we have these options, instead of hiring somebody at a higher level, meaning maybe a management analyst level, maybe we hire someone at an admin analyst level. So we have the ability to, I don't want to say downgrade, but we have the ability to hire at the level that's appropriate for whatever the city's need is. And so again, you can achieve some cost savings there as well.
Chief, did you have some
I was just going to say the police department alone has lost 3 employees in the last couple of months, and they've cited a lack of opportunities for them to move into other roles as the reason for leaving. So I'm hopeful that this in and of itself is something I can take back to the employees as a retention tool. Even though they may not be filled today, it is something that I can work towards a strategic plan to fill in the future to try to prevent that from happening further.
Would that be your police recruit position?
So no, there's 2 of them listed on here. If you look under 12A1, it has a, sorry, give me 1 second, an executive assistant role as opposed to a department secretary role. We're the only PD in the entire county that has a department secretary in the police department. Every other police department in the entire county has an executive assistant. That would be one. Another one listed under number 2 is a senior records specialist. So we have records personnel that work in records, but we have no supervisor in records. So these are just 2 quick examples of those issues.
And just to dovetail on something the chief said, and I think it bears repeating, retention for a small city is hard to achieve at the end of the day. The simple truth is that there are cities out there that pay more, that have more opportunities for advancement, that have, I'll say it, just given the size of their organization, more opportunities for people to move around. By taking actions like this, and then actions that the council has taken in the past, such as allowing for the cash out of vacation time, by establishing retention bonuses, by approving labor contracts, the city has really signaled an intent to hold on to its employees. We've cultivated them, we've trained them. We'd rather not be a springboard to their next step in another agency. And I'll give you an example, again, through the police department. There was a time where the city was very clearly known throughout the county as a place where we would actually serve as the training ground for police officers, and then they would very quickly leave after passing probation and go and work for another city. I'm happy to say that since the chief's arrival, we've been able to stem that tide and been able to hold on to officers for longer periods of time. We also are now taking the opportunity to do that across the board in every different department in order to ensure that we're not losing people needlessly. This also gives us the opportunity to really kind of go out and actually try to say, are we, I'll call it, the right size as an organization? We don't need to have people in job descriptions that don't necessarily serve the current mission of the city. So if we find a position where that is the case, then we can pivot to one of these other positions and actually start person working on something that actually is a benefit to the city long term.
So basically, you're looking, and y'all keep saying the word, but you're kicking it around and not using it the way I would like you to. It's an opportunity. You're trying to give your staff employment opportunities so that they can look here before they look outside. And the assumption is naturally not that we're going to backfill a position, but that we have sufficiently and adequately trained whomever it is that has access to this opportunity, they can just move into it. So I don't see it as we are adding any significant, okay, so I got HR nodding at me. We're not really adding anything except for positions so that we have resources or tools that will cause our staff to want to stay.
You summed it up perfectly.
Well, HR nodded at me, not at you, so.
Yeah. If you know Chelsea, she very rarely nods at me, so.
Anything else? Any other questions?
I'll move the item.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
You got me. Aye.
Any, I guess there's no objections, right? Okay. Item B, the city manager employment agreement. Do we need a staff report on this?
Yes, we do, and
Okay.
the city attorney will take you through it.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Prior to taking final action on the city manager's compensation, SB 1436 requires that an oral report summarizing that compensation be provided, which I'll do at this time. As you know, this item concerns approval of a new city manager agreement. City Manager Simmons was first appointed to the Los Alamitos as the Los Alamitos city manager on January 21st, 2020, with unanimous approval of the city council of a 3-year employment agreement. On June 13th, 2022, the City Council unanimously reappointed Mr. Simmons and approved a new city manager employment agreement. Following Mr. Simmons' most recent annual performance review, the mayor, as the City Council's designated representative, engaged in negotiations with Mr. Simmons over salary, benefits, and terms and conditions of continued employment. The proposed city manager employment agreement has been prepared based on those negotiated terms and conditions for the City Council's review. The new city manager employment agreement, if approved, would be for an initial term of 1 year with automatic 12-month renewal periods thereafter. The proposed executive compensation plan for the city manager is as follows. The city manager will be paid an annual base salary of $254,087. Except as noted below, the city manager will receive the same benefits provided to other executive management employees as set forth in the salary and benefit resolution, as may be amended, including without limitation, enrollment in the 2.7% at 55 PERS pension plan. The city manager will be responsible for paying the full employee's share of the PERS retirement contribution. The city manager will be paid a one-time retention bonus totaling $5,000 upon the effective date of the new agreement, with additional annual $5,000 retention bonuses for each year of continued service thereafter. The city manager will accrue vacation leave at the rate of 200 hours annually. The city will contribute up to $2,250 per month toward the payment of premiums for health, dental, and optical insurance. Alternatively, the city manager may elect to receive a monthly payment equal to this amount in lieu of participation in the city's medical, optical, and dental insurance program. Additionally, the city will cover the city manager's cost for an annual Hoag executive physical or equivalent. Further, under the terms of the proposed agreement, the city will provide the city manager with a city leased or owned vehicle. The city will be responsible for the vehicle's expenses, including registration and license fees, insurance, maintenance, fuel, and repairs. The city will contribute $1,916 per month toward the city manager's participation in a city-approved deferred compensation plan. The city manager will be provided a city-issued cellular phone or may elect to receive a $70 monthly stipend for use of his own cellular phone. Additionally, the city will provide the city manager with a monthly stipend of $55 for a wireless hotspot. And with that, I conclude my report.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions from council?
I do. There's a couple sections in here that seem a bit odd to me. They weren't in the first. I believe it was, you had two previous contracts, 2020 and 2023. This one is on page 189 of the agenda packet, section 3.2.8, titled Joint Communications Upon Employees. I'll read the paragraph, quoting it. In the event the city council terminates employee without cause, neither the city council, individual city council members, nor employee may make a written, oral, or electronic statement to any member of the press concerning employee's termination in the form of a joint press release or statement, the content of which is mutually agreeable to the city council and employee. The joint press release or statement shall not contain any text or information that is disparaging to either party. Either party may verbally repeat the substance of the joint press release or statement in response to any press inquiry. This one stood out to me. I apologize, I'm from East LA, I'm from Downey, but here's what I thought. If you get caught trafficking drugs with a Mexican cartel, fictitious, right? Just extreme, absurd example. Let's say you get, the cops bust you for trafficking drugs into the city. I would probably be the first to write a disparaging press release. So why the gag order? Like, if you do something dumb or stupid or something.
No, I think that's a fair question. And before the city manager respond, or I'm sorry, that's me. Before the city attorney responds, I will mention that that language is not new. It's actually been in my contract since day one. So it's not new language. I also believe, and the city attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, that that refers to if it's termination without cause. Such, the item that, the scenario you are painting, I would have clearly broken a law there and you would be firing me for cause, I would think. And at that point, you would be free to say whatever you want.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Before you go on, I'm going to ask the city attorney to make sure that I said that correctly.
That's about how I would have answered that. That language has been in the agreement since 2020 and carried over each new renewal period. And it is important to note that it would be a termination without
cause.
Limit that or require a joint statement.
I'd also note that that language is actually now standard in the city manager's foundation standard contract.
For without cause.
Yes.
Great, thanks. Let's see, 189, the next section after this, it's, the staff report shows section 3.29, and I'd like to amend this to correct it. It should be 3.2.9. Not a big deal, but let's see. The next section, and we touched on this a little bit, section 3.4.11, professional organizations. I was looking for, I think it's great, you're out there, you're doing what you gotta do. There's no list of membership organizations. With council, that's one of the things that we did this year to kind of ring fence what council's going to. Where's the list, or why isn't there a list of organizations?
I can list the organizations that I'm a member of, if that would be helpful.
In the contract, there isn't a list, though. Why isn't there a list?
Again, that's language that's been in that contract since the beginning. I think it's boilerplate language. It's really just there to acknowledge the fact that city managers are part of organizations outside of the city, and that we do seek not only professional development, but also just information from those groups. A lot of that is provided gratis by those groups. Me personally, I'm a member of ICMA, the International Council of City Managers, the California City Managers Management Federation. I also do a lot of work with the Urban Land Institute. And then also, I was in the past a member in something that I probably would look to get back into once we get into more development, the California Planning Association, APA, and then, or I'm sorry, the American Planning Association. And then there used to be a number of redevelopment focused agencies, which obviously don't pertain to this, to us today, given the fact that redevelopment agencies have gone away.
Great, so we're in the ballpark of what, 5, less than 10?
I think that's fair, yes.
Let's see, the next thing that stood out to me was the moonlighting section. There seemed to be some additional language regarding moonlighting that stood out to me. Section 3.1.4. Curious why the additional, what is this, page 185. Particularly number 2. For whomever would like to respond.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I can confirm that that is legacy language that's been in place from the inception of this agreement.
Okay, 1 and 2?
Yes, let me confirm that real quick for you. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I was going to say I'm not aware of any changes, but largely that clause is there to ensure that I'm dedicating my time to the city as opposed to potentially taking another job someplace else.
Okay. And one of the reasons I wanted to ask about this is, this is going to be a touchy one, but it's been brought to my attention that you have a development company.
I have a development company.
Yeah, ROS Strategies.
It's not a development company, but
I have here, Secretary of State, your filing, type of business is listed as real estate development and planning. Can you help me understand this?
sure. In 2020, prior to the pandemic and prior to taking this job, I considered shortly the idea of actually having my own development, or not development, but more economic development company, where I would look at actually helping cities try to develop their economic development plans. In taking this job, obviously, that did not come to fruition because I was working here. So it is a company that is still on register, but is not active.
Okay. According to the Secretary of State's office, it is active. I went on there myself because, you have these, I was made aware of this. I'm concerned, obviously. Since I joined council last year, there's been a lot of development, a lot of talk about development, economic development. So when I saw this, myself and residents are concerned there might be some meddling because it is an active LLC. Would you be open to closing that?
I would have to see what exactly the process is in closing. I honestly, to tell you the truth, I don't know much about opening and starting businesses with the Secretary of State. It was one that I did in order to try to see if there was an option there, but obviously after taking this job, I haven't done any work on it.
Okay, I'm too concerned about this to have a yes for tonight. So I'd actually like to move to pull this from tonight's agenda so that we can do what we need to do with this, give you the opportunity to close it down, or we can look into making sure that this real estate company is not active out of an abundance of caution.
So just for clarity, I want to make sure that we're calling it what it is. This is not a real estate company. It's not a development company. It was the idea to start an economic development firm. I have since not done any work with it. I'm willing to shut it down. I just don't know what exactly the steps are in order to do that. I'm sure that I need to send a letter to the State Assembly.
Yeah.
And that's fine, simply because it's not being used.
I would appreciate that.
And hasn't been used.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'm just going off this form here. It says type of business, real estate development and planning. If you're not using it and it's shut down by the time we come back in.
If that is going to make you more confident that in my ability to do this work, then I don't have a problem doing that.
I appreciate that. I really do.
Point of order real quick. Are we supposed to be delving into your personal business? It's not affecting what you do here. You've taken no actions to show that you have any kind of conflict or moonlighting activities. I'm just kind of concerned about, we're going to start, researching everybody's on the Secretary of State to see what they've done and not done.
Mayor Pro Tem, I agree. Quite frankly, I would have wished this would have been a discussion that would have been brought up at a more opportune time, but the issue's been raised. I'm willing to answer it as long as that is the end of it.
Well, as a small business owner myself, and like the Mayor Pro Tem throughout there, I have not seen any impact from anything that you may or may not be doing in whatever you have left of your personal time after you take care of all of our business. And I know how difficult it is to get some of the information necessary to start a company, even a consulting one. So I actually would be opposed to you releasing a business that you already have a name for, that you've already got licensure for, that you've already gone through the steps for. I also know how much it costs to be on the books for those things, especially with the Secretary of State. So I'm not sure how it came up, but I have seen nothing that would lend itself to me saying, yes, you go and close that, and that's what my vote would be predicated on. I think that's too micro, and we are, as a body, meant to be more macro.
And City Attorney, as a point of clarification, because somebody has a business registered with the Secretary of State, does that automatically say that they're moonlighting and goes against this contract?
No, there would have to be some indication that that activity was somehow interfering with city manager's principal duties.
So we're implying that we're going to force him to shut something down that doesn't have anything that's in conflict with this contract.
Well, that's, I guess, what's being considered. I would say, as a point of order, I believe we do have a motion on the table.
I'll get to that in a second, but just for the record, your representations to me, I'm not going to require you to, or even ask you to shut down anything that you may have. So we do have a motion that has been made. I guess the motion is to table this until there's some proof that he's no longer engaged in that business. I don't have a second for that. Is there a second for that?
I'll second that. I mean, I don't believe that there's a conflict of interest, but if there's a way just to review everything, I don't believe anybody should have to be forced to do anything, but he did acknowledge that he would voluntarily do it. It's not something that I believe she's trying to impose. He's his own person. If he wants to make the decision to open it or close it, that's his decision.
Okay.
But if it's just something that we can go ahead and just go over and review, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Okay, so let me just address the motion that I'm addressing right now is, are we going to, I guess, not vote on this for some further action based on the city manager's representation? So all those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
All those, any objections? I object.
No.
No.
I abstain.
Okay, so that motion has failed. Now I'm asking, is there a motion and a second to proceed with the approval of the city manager's employment agreement?
I will move it.
And I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any objections?
Me, I can't at this time for the reasons I shared.
And any abstentions?
I'll abstain from what I stated.
Okay, so the motion passes. Now we have item C, placement of a modernizing charter amendment measure on the November 5th, 2024 general election ballot for voter consideration. Can I get a staff report on this?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Before I begin, I want to state that this is actually one of the items or one of the goals set forth by the City Council in order to modernize the city charter, which has been in place for 64 years. The long and the short of it is that there are a number of areas within the charter itself which simply either slow down or prohibit the city from moving forward with a number of projects. Also, given the opportunity that we were in the midst of going through the charter, we were able to identify different areas where there was inconsistencies with state law or different items that were just not clear. And then also to take advantage of places where we could also insert additional good governance items into the charter. This obviously reflects itself in the addition of different items with regards to lobbyists and then also donations and such that are taken by city council members and the planning commission. I would like to invite Richard. I'm sorry, I've already forgotten your last name, sir.
Bernard.
Dr. Bernard, who is actually going to run you through some of the statistical data that the city was able to gain going through and doing a survey of our residents. Doctor?
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, staff. I want to thank you for inviting me to present the results of your voter survey. We conducted the survey between June 11th and the 23rd. It was a dual mode survey, which means a random portion of the respondents took the survey online and a random portion on the phone. We interviewed a random sample of 306 city registered voters who are likely to vote in a November 2024 election based on their past voter history or if they've recently registered to vote. For questions asked of everyone, the margin of error is plus or minus 5.7. In order for the survey not to be too onerous on your voters, we had a large list of questions, and so for some cases, we randomly asked half the sample some questions and half the sample others, and in those circumstances, the margin of error is a little larger. We contacted your voters by telephone, email, and text. And we've had the privilege to conduct surveys in 2019 and 2020 with respect to your ballot initiative in 2020. And we also, so there we'll have some tracking data so you can see how the city is progressing over time in a number of areas. And finally, we offered the survey in English and Spanish. And if you're very quick on math and notice something doesn't quite equal 100%, I blame that entirely on rounding. So before we get into the specific ballot question, I want to sort of get a sense, provide you a sense of the sort of the mood of the electorate and set the context. So as we did in the previous surveys, we asked folks if they thought things in the city were headed in the right direction or if they were off on the wrong track. And as you could see, there are tracking questions from 2019 and 2020. In 2024, this recent survey, 61% said that things in the city were headed in the right direction and only 21% said wrong track. So you have, the city has about a 3-to-1 ratio of right direction to wrong track. If you're wondering how that scores relative to other cities, it's one of the best numbers that I have seen in cities currently at this time. We've noticed over the years, and that has not been the case in your city, that the right direction and perceptions of cities has declined. In fact, yours has increased over the 3 years that we have data for. So something positive for you to recognize. We also asked folks if they had a favorable or unfavorable opinion about the city government overall, so not only the council in general, but all your staff. And 66%, 2/3 said they had a favorable opinion, 16% said they had an unfavorable opinion, and 19% said they didn't know enough to offer an opinion. They don't know enough about the city. 2/3 is a very good number when you use the word government in a question. And so again, clearly people are happy with the city overall. I now want to get into the ballot question. I call it a hypothetical ballot question because, well, one, I have to test something, that's my charge, but ultimately it's going to be in the hands of the council in your wisdom as to whether you choose to place something on the ballot, what it looks like, working with your legal counsel. So we worked with your staff and legal counsel to draft a ballot question, which we believe represents the interest of the council. In other words, things that were communicated to staff in terms of issues related to accountability, transparency, and charter reform. So we developed this question. Legal counsel said that it was legally permissible question. We're restricted in the number of words we're allowed, 75 words. It's a legal thing. So it's not going to come across as Shakespearean prose. We're kind of do what we can within those words. There's certainly accompanying ordinances which provide more detail as to what you folks choose to do if you want to move forward. So we asked this ballot question. We read it to people if they were on the phone, or they read it if they were online. And we said, based on the description of this ballot question, we said, would you vote yes in favor or no to oppose? If they said they would vote yes in favor, we asked them, is that definitely or probably, because we want to know the intensity of support, i.e. the percent who say definitely yes. Remember, this is a this is a 50+1 measure. That's the legal threshold. If they said no, we asked them, is that definitely or probably no, to get the sense of the intensity of opposition. If they were undecided, we pushed them a little. We said, well, would you lean yes or would you lean no? If they said they'd lean yes, we put them in the yes camp. If no, in the no camp. And for this particular measure, 4% said they were undecided. So on the initial ask, with just hearing ballot title and summary, 92% said they would vote yes, 4% said they'd vote no, and 4% said they were undecided. I've been doing this for 22 years. I can't remember a ballot initiative that received 92% yes. And since it's a general purpose or a 50+1 measure, the threshold is 50+1, and the definitely yes is already at 54%. With a margin of error of plus or minus 5.7, regardless, it's way above the threshold required for passage. We then, I wanted to show you sort of the level of support, opposition, and a percent undecided by city council districts, so you have some kind of sense of your own representatives. I will caution you, and you'll see the percent of sample means the percent that they will make up of a likely November 2024 electorate. I will caution you because we took the 306 respondents and sliced and diced them to their appropriate council districts. The margin of error is very large. But even if the margin of error was 14 points, and all of them are 87 or above, they all make it way above the 50+1 threshold. So, but it's important statistically that I let you know that I'm mindful of it. So across the board, there is strong support with just ballot title and summary. And then in subsequent slides, we try to disentangle the ballot question you saw to see why people are supporting it, why are they opposing it, and also offer different kinds of opportunities for the council to reflect on what they may want to include in this accountability, transparency, and charter reform measure. As long as it's a single subject matter, I believe that it's legally permissible, but I will rely on your legal counsel for that. I'm not a lawyer, I'm just a sociologist. So we randomized the list of items, and we asked them if people supported or opposed it, and if they said they supported it, we asked them, is that strongly or somewhat? That's the dark blue and the bright blue. If they opposed it, we asked them, is that somewhat or strongly opposed? And that's the dull orange and the bright orange, and that sliver of gray that you see are the folks who said they don't know. I've taken the people who said they support, I've aggregated them and ranked it on the right-hand side, and I've taken the opposed and also aggregated it on the right-hand side. And you could see a variety of different types of government reform measures are strongly favored in your city. These numbers are incredibly high. We asked 18 items, or I'm showing you 18 items, and you could see the intensity of that support in the 80s, in the 70s, in the 60s for a 50+1 measure. I wanted to spend a little bit of time, because I know one of the impetuses is to deal with term limits, to clarify the term limits in the city. We tested it in a variety of ways. In this battery, establishing term limits for city council candidates at 86% support, 7 opposed. And then we tested it in other ways, including clarifying existing city council term limits. There it's 92% support, 5% opposed. But we really wanted to isolate it, so we gave them a little bit more information about the intent of the clarifications, limiting to 3 terms per district. So it's clear to them what the intent of that was. And then we isolated by asking them if they supported or opposed the intent of that description that I just showed you. And there, 79% said that they support it, and 15% said they opposed it. We then simulated some educational outreach. As you know, the city can't advocate for anything, but they can educate. What you do on your own time, you certainly can do, as long as you're not using city resources in any way. And your legal counsel will remind you of that throughout the process. And we gave them the series of statements, and we said after each one, tell me if it makes you more inclined to vote yes on the measure. That dark blue is much more inclined, the bright blue is somewhat more inclined. I've aggregated the total more inclined on the right-hand side. And the words in the parentheses are just the themes of the messages. We didn't read it to them. It's so that I don't have to sit here and read 6 messages to you. But clearly, these are very, very strong messages, bearing in mind this is a 50+1 measure, and you've got folks either in the intensities in the 50s that are saying much more inclined to vote yes, or overall total more inclined to vote yes in the 80s and the 70s. Among the strongest ones are the thought that if this is passed, you'll be able to deal with particularly street repairs in a much more expeditious way. And if you look at the theme about infrastructure, it's taking the infrastructure, streamlining it so it's not as bureaucratic, eliminating red tape, and ensuring that repairs are done quickly, but it includes public disclosure of spending as well as audits to ensure that everything is as it's claimed to be. And then the second item, reform, is about strengthening the accountability and the ethics system in city elections and government. And we explain a little bit about that. So we read through these various statements, and then we re-asked the ballot question that you saw earlier. So initially, it was just ballot title and summary. That's all they knew about it. Then explaining to them some of the elements of the potential reform measure, and then explaining what they would do if it was enacted. And we re-asked the ballot question, and while you notice the total yes only goes up 1%, I mean, it's so high, there's only one place to go but down. I mean, you're never getting 100% on anything, I can assure you. But the definitely yes still moves up 9% to 63%. Now, the margin of error remains at plus or minus 5.7, but if you look at that 93, and let's say simple math at 6, on the high end it's 96, and at the low end it's 87, way above that 50+1 measure. But to do justice, we also provided some critical statements, because no measure gets a free pass in any city. And so we mentioned such arguments as, things are running fine in the city. This is a waste of money. It's not needed. And after we gave them a number of statements, we re-asked that original ballot question that you saw earlier in the presentation. Again, on the left-hand side was the initial vote with just ballot title and summary. It was 92-4, yes to no. After education, telling them some of the elements of the reform and telling them why it might be important, how it could be used, it was 93-5 with a very strong definitely yes of 63. And I'll note these definitely no's of 2% and 4%. Again, I've never seen it. before. And I've done some reform, government reform. They were often in the 70s and 80s, but I have never seen them in the 90s. And after the critical statements, support drops 8 points, but still the definitely yes is 1 in every 2, and definitely no is only at 4. So it's, what is it, that's a little bit more than a 12-to-1 ratio of definitely yes to definitely no, which is extremely strong. So in conclusion, a majority have optimistic views about the direction of the city. Again, your numbers rate among some of the highest that I've seen, certainly in the last 6 months. Majorities have favorable views of the city government overall, so including you folks and all the staff members. With respect to the charter reform, the measure appears to be viable for a November 2024 election. More than 8 in 10 support the measures throughout the survey, and education helps solidify the definitely yes part of the vote. In terms of elements that they strongly support, more than at least 6 in 10 or more say they like the idea of requiring public spending disclosures, prohibiting city council members and commissioners from accepting gifts from lobbyists and city contractors, requiring lobbyists to register with the city, and requiring disclosure of all campaign donations to city candidates. When explained objectively about the clarification of term limits, nearly 8 in 10, I think it was 79%, support this approach. And finally, leading reasons to support the measure: being able to move faster, more cost-effectively in addressing infrastructure needs, especially with respect to street repairs and pothole repairs, and strengthening the accountability and ethics system in city elections and government. And even the folks who have a strong favorability towards the city government overall also strongly favor this in spite of that. They like you. They just want to make sure that, you know, you're doing the right thing. And with that, I'm happy to answer any question.
So I have a few questions. In regards to page 11, did you provide any of the people who were surveyed with actual dollar amounts?
No, we did not.
Okay. In regards to favorable opinion, because I noticed on page 4, you provided like a background or a past view of 2019, 2020.
Yep.
Did you also do that for on page 5?
We did not ask that question in the previous survey, so there was nothing to track.
Okay. And in regards to the threshold that's being increased for Public Works, did you also discuss what the current status is and what the increase in the dollar amount would be for Public Works?
I don't believe we did. We didn't talk about dollar figures.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions?
I have a question. We have a council member who's terming out this term. How would this, if this passes, how would that affect that council member?
That's a legal question.
Yeah, so the term limits, if approved in the proposed ordinance, would be prospective beginning with this November's election. So anyone sitting on the council presently who chooses to run again in the future, if this is approved, basically would start year 1 as of this election in November.
Will that be communicated to voters?
It's in the text of the amendment. I would suppose, you know, we'll have to prepare an impartial analysis that'll explain that it's prospectively applied.
Just an important note, that will apply to all council members, not just one council member. So that just
I
want to
want to
make that
mention,
clear.
because we have one council member terming out. I think the rest of us have a few more years, if the residents so choose to pick us.
It's a term out for at-large. This is specifically districts, which we have been compelled to be in. So it's really not the same thing. We've never been in districts. It's always been at-large, so.
Our charter states term limits that have applied since the districts were established, so they currently apply. That was my question. So will the clock will reset entirely, so all of us would go to 0?
That's correct. And another component of the updated term limits is trying to clarify again that this pertains to the city's by-district election system now. and making it clear that that is 3 consecutive terms from any one district or a combination of multiple districts. So you're preventing a situation potentially where someone could reside in District 1, serve 3 years, and then want to just jump lines across the city and run immediately again in District 4 per se. So it's additional cleanup to try to clarify how those term limits will function now that we're in a by-district system.
So potentially a council member can serve 12, reset, and serve 12 if the amendment passes in November.
They would be limited to 3 consecutive terms no matter where they serve it, and then have to sit out for 1 year before running again in any district citywide.
So if they term out in 26 and then they can serve another 12 years, theoretically.
Right, as long as you have the 1 year cool down period, you can do 3 consecutive terms, sit out for 1 year, run again, serve an additional 3 consecutive terms, sit out for a year, you know, indefinitely.
Anything else?
I do have one follow-up. On page 17, you said that the measure allows the city to move more quickly to fill potholes. It's very ambiguous. So what do you mean more quickly? What is the current status that you're aware of that the city usually fills potholes?
I'm going to leave that for the city manager to explain.
So thank you for bringing it up, first of all. So as the charter currently states, any job that is over $10,000 in the public works arena has to go out to public bid. So if we have an issue that has an over $10,000 price tag on it, we are required to come to the city council, let everyone know that we're going out to an RFP, ask the council to approve the RFP, then circulate it, advertise it, get proposals in, analyze those proposals, then come back to the city council and have the city council award that contract. That process in and of itself takes anywhere from, I can feel Ron's eyes on the back of my head. I believe it will be anywhere between 6 months to 8 months, depending on the amount of work that has to be done with regards to the RFP and analyzing all of the different vendors. Is that fair? Thank you. By removing that $10,000, we would actually be able to go out, let's say that the project costs 12. We would be able to go out quickly and identify a firm that could handle that work and contract immediately without going through that 6 to 8 month process. The best example that I can offer you, and it's not a street project, it's the gas line within the police department. When we realized that the fix would be over $10,000, we were required to call a special meeting in order to actually go out and do the work to repair that gas line. Even though the number was not an astronomical number, it was above that $10,000 threshold, which would require us to go out and do the process that I just described, which ultimately, like I said, is a 6 to 8 month process. And having a building without gas for that long and with a leak is clearly a danger to the people that work there. So this would, again, allow us to move faster on what I'll call the smaller dollar items that are just over $10,000.
Okay, but this is specifically in regards to page 17 for streets. How many instances have there been where the potholes were not filled quickly? And how many instances have there been where it has been $10,000 and above?
I couldn't answer that except for to say that just because I don't have that number in front of me, but I will give you an example of what we do now in order to try to make it worthwhile for the city, is that we try to bundle as much of this work together as we can in order to make it attractive for contractors to come in and bid, given the process that we have to use. That being said, it does make projects that we're going to do harder to accomplish. When we have ones that we're able to accomplish in-house, we'll go ahead and do it that way. However, this would allow us to, again, contract for smaller dollar amounts.
Okay. And in regards to my question to you, it wouldn't require a city manager's response because I'm asking that you are actually the one who created these questions, correct?
Yeah, based on the information that was given to me by staff.
So if you are presenting these questions, it seems very ambiguous to present this to a person who's being interviewed, saying more quickly without actually identifying what more quickly is in consideration to what it is now. So that's what I'm saying, like, if you're saying to move more quickly to fill potholes and repair streets,
Right.
so what is more quickly? Is that stating that now it's going to be a day more, a day quicker? And that's why I just said, a lot of the language that's being used in this survey seems very ambiguous. And anyone who would be taking the survey, I don't think they're provided a very comprehensive, detailed information about what it is that they're being questioned of. Like, fill quickly. What is quickly? Because it's not being identified.
Sure. Well, it's a comparative word, as you pointed out. So whatever is happening now, I understand that it will be quicker. I don't have a definitive time because I imagine each situation will be different depending on how large the problem is or how small the problem is. People do have a chance to not only say much more inclined, somewhat more inclined, but say don't believe, say less inclined, or they don't know. And so my experience has been in writing surveys, if I get too detailed, people will start scratching their heads because they're not experts in in issues relating to filling potholes. I know people want potholes to be filled quicker than they currently are, regardless of where people live. So I don't have a definitive time because it's such a broad topic. But your point is well taken.
And you said these are 306 individuals who usually vote.
They are likely to vote in the November 2024 election based on past voter history. So if they're registered and haven't voted in at least one of the last three general or primary elections, like of the last 4 elections, they're not included in the sample.
Okay, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Any other questions? Okay. If I can get do I have a motion to advance this?
I will move it.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Any abstentions?
Sorry, Councilmember Murphy, I didn't hear your vote.
So this is in regards to, I just want to confirm, for 12C, is that correct?
Correct. The motion by Councilmember Dovey was to move staff's recommendation.
And this is for each of the section 501, section 1206, and so forth. Is that correct? Under 12C?
12C is council directing us to put the ballot measure.
Correct. Under the discussion for 501, section 501, the election of members, term limits, section 1206, contracts on public works.
Yeah, to clarify that, the recommendation would be to submit the charter amendment as included in your agenda packet to the voters. So it's every section you're referencing. It would be that attachment. It would be submitted to the voters. Okay.
Well, then I do have a couple questions. So why wasn't this discussed when we went into districting for our city of Los Alamitos? Why wasn't this proposed at that time? Why is it being proposed now to proceed with putting this on the ballot?
This was a goal set to what that was presented to the council and accepted, and then also at the time with the establishment of districts, I will admit this, I think that everyone was very focused on ensuring that the district process was done correctly, and very little thought was really given to what exactly the charter implications were of making these changes. This is largely what I would like to call a cleanup effort in order to make sure that we reconcile our charter to ensure that it matches state law. I'd also mentioned that all of those changes needed to be adopted by the city council prior to making any changes to the charter, because while the city council can make the changes that were required with regards to districting, a charter requires a vote of the people. And so therefore, we needed to do one before the other, if that makes sense.
Well, let me see, because we went into districting in 2020, correct?
That is correct.
And this wasn't proposed in even 2022?
I don't believe that we even looked at it until we got to this year. No, that's not true. I'm sorry. We've been maybe about a year and a half. I believe it was I'll put it this way. It's something that I think we recognized needed to be changed. It was just a question of when exactly we would tackle it.
Okay. Are there lobbyists that we're aware of that's been like pounding on the doors of our council members, like asking, because I guess the lobbying restrictions leads me to believe that there are lobbyists that are currently requesting or, asking for, in regards to campaign, because we're restricting it down to 500. So I'm wondering, is there something presently going on that I'm not aware of?
So I will say it's simply from a standpoint. So every year a survey comes out that's done by the, I'm sorry, the name is escaping me, but it's printed in all the papers about I'll call it the transparency measures that each city has enacted in order to try to keep pace with what the public sentiment of we would like to see campaign finance reform, or we'd like there to be clarification or more transparency within the election process itself. A number of cities have actually gone through and actually adopted additional measures that are more restrictive than what is prescribed within state law. And so I can't speak for any of the council members with regards to if there's anyone banging down your doors about campaign finance reform or identifying lobbyists and such, but various ethnic groups have pointed out that it's good governance at the end of the day to try to limit the influence of money on local elections. And so when looking at the cities that actually have adopted additional measures, the ones that are proposed put us squarely in the middle of what other Orange County cities have put in place at this point.
And what cities are those?
All of the Orange County cities are the ones that we surveyed.
So I'm sorry, do we have a list of those?
I do not have a list, but I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, our management house actually did a survey or compiled a survey of where exactly we lined up against other cities. And again, then we took basically what exactly the middle road of that was, and that's where we placed the $500 limit.
From 5,500, is that correct?
That is the state limit.
Okay. But that's what we're taking it down from, correct? From 5,500, which is what the state limit is, down to...
Yes, this is the important thing, is, again, the vote tonight is to allow the voters to decide this. We wouldn't be deciding it. The voters would decide whether or not $500 would be an appropriate limit or not.
I know, but I'm a council member, and I represent also the city, and I've also spoken with other residents about this. So these are questions that they pose to me, that they're wondering, is there something going on that we're not all aware of, that there is even a proposal to put this on a ballot, to go from 5,500 down to 500, because that's pretty significant. It's not 5,500 down to a smaller, it's very significant to go down. So it's concerning then that why we're doing this, unless there's something that's currently going on that would require us to take this measure.
Again, I can't speak to the issues that council members are currently facing, or if they're being lobbied one way or the other. All I can say is that given the statistical response to the question when asked, it appears that the vast majority of voters, or at least the people that responded to the survey, were in favor of such changes.
But he also indicated that there wasn't a number that was provided to the people who were surveyed.
Oh, no, I'm just speaking in generalities as to the results that were presented to the council.
Okay.
So are we still asking for Councilwoman's vote on this item?
I'm going to vote no.
Just for clarification, so it's 3 in favor, 2. Okay.
Correct. Motion passes.
Okay, item 12D, consideration of the process for City Council submission of a ballot argument in favor of a charter amendment modernizing the City of Los Alamitos City Charter.
So, sir, I will ask the city clerk to jump in the event that I get any of this wrong. Now that the council has voted in favor of putting this measure before the electorate, the city council can decide if they wish to submit arguments in favor of the charter amendment that will be placed on the ballot. I will refer you back to 2020 when the city council voted to put Measure Y on the ballot. At that time, the city council elected to designate 2 members to write a ballot measure, or I'm sorry, an argument in favor, and then that item was approved by the entire city council to be placed in the election
Voter pamphlet.
Thank you, for the residents to read. This item is basically asking if the city council would like to do something similar this time, or the city council can also nominate an individual. Well, first of all, city council can decide to do nothing. City council can nominate 1 member to write an item, 2 members to write an item, or the entire body can nominate 2 people to write, and then that item can be brought back for consideration of the entire city council for placement on the agenda, or, I'm sorry, in the voter pamphlet. Thank you.
Okay, so if I got this straight, this is for arguments in favor. So if we did nothing in the pamphlet, there would be nothing in favor of the charter?
This is where I'm going to turn to the city.
So the elections code dictates when an argument is received, what order it is. So city council has first right to have their argument printed. If city council declines, we may still get an argument from an outside source, and then it would fall within the elections code to print that argument instead.
Okay. So considering that we don't have 5 members that are in favor of the charter, I would propose that we appoint 2 or less to write the argument in favor.
Well, I'll take you one further, and I would offer the mayor and the mayor pro tem to write it.
I believe that's currently what we did in 2020.
Will
Was
the
that-
author's name appear on the ballots?
Not on the ballot, but in the voter pamphlet. It's required by the election code that all authors sign, and their names are printed with the arguments.
Is that the in favor and the opposition argument?
Okay, so let me entertain that motion. Then we have the mayor and the mayor pro tem author the argument in favor for the pamphlet. Do I have
It's my motion.
And I'll second.
and I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any objections? Any-
That's to say.
I'm waiting for a call for abstention.
Okay. Any abstentions?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we have 3 in favor, 2 abstentions. So then the item passes. Okay, council announcements. At this time, council members may also report on items not specifically described on the agenda that are of interest to the community, provided no action or discussion is taken except to provide staff direction to report back or to place the item on a future agenda. We'll just go ahead and start with my right, with Mayor Pro Tem Hasselbrink.
I have nothing to report at this time.
Councilmember Murphy?
Well, I attended a few events in the last month. I attended a pop-up dog park event at Laurel Park with my 2 kids and my little Cavapoo Chai. We had an incredible time. We watched the star of the show, Elvis, who showcased a lot of different skills and literally run the crowd over. We were so excited about everything, especially with Officer Navarro. And so that was a really, really fun event. So thank you to Rec and everybody for preparing that and having that done. I also attended the 3rd of July fireworks spectacular at the Joint Force Bases. It was just an incredible event, as always. It was put together with a higher number of residents and community members, and just so many people were there, and everybody had just a fantastic time. So again, shout out to our Parks and Rec and the hard work that they always do, and they just continue to do. It's just truly incredible. I also attended the grand opening and ribbon cutting ceremony for Carbon Health, which is the newest medical center in Los Alamitos. And finally, I also attended my area, College Park North, which is right behind the high school, has a parade that they celebrate every year, and this was our 40th year of celebrating it. And we were so lucky to have the Los Alamitos Police Department lead the parade as always, which my residents just absolutely love because they absolutely love our law enforcement. They're always there to serve and protect us. So it's always very, very embraced by my community. Finally, I just recently attended the Chamber of Commerce Happy Mixer at the Joint Force Training Base. And I just want to give a big shout out to the pub at Fiddler's Green. I don't know if everybody is aware, but it is open to the public. So you can go on to the base with your ID and check them out. They have Taco Tuesdays, and they cook right there on site. So if anyone isn't aware, please go support them because they are amazing and their staff is amazing as well. So that's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Hibbert?
Thank you. I'll just kind of move quickly through this. I attended the RMAC meeting as well. I participated in the Special Olympics Law Enforcement Torch Run. Chief, glad you're okay. Veronica Wilson is amazing and awesome, and the mama of PD and the glue and all of that. Watching her in action, she's got her kids running around, she's got the Special Olympian, she's got the PD, I mean, everything, and she's absolutely amazing. Veronica, if you're listening, please never leave us. I attended the Rec on the Go pop-up event at Orville Lewis Park in the Highlands. The 17-year-olds who are running it blew me away. They've been working in rec since they're 14. And I attended the 10th anniversary party for the sewing lab that's on Cerritos and Chestnut. And this past month, I was walking around Parkwood getting to know the residents out there. I apologize to Parks and Rec for all the service requests, but that's what happens when you knock doors, is they let you know what they need. So if anyone needs me, please reach out. Thank you.
Councilmember Doby?
All right, so I attended, it looks like it was an ACCOC, the Executive Committee meeting, and then the Orange County Council of Governments Board of Directors meeting, and then the Association of California Cities Orange County also has several subcommittees. One of them is they call it the Leg and Reg committees, but they basically go over pending legislation that each of us Orange County cities might want to submit the different letters for. Like Connor came and he told us about their letters. ACCOC also has a legislative advocate that also supplies us with support letters, and they are pre-written, and that's why we can be so responsive, because all we got to do is cut and paste, sign. And the 3rd of July event, I think this was my favorite one so far. It was beautiful. There were just so many happy people. Like, our staff is flawless. I was getting compliments all night. They were like, wow, how do they do such exceptional work? I said, because I got the best staff in the world. I'm sorry, you're just now learning that. I went to a Cal City summer recess briefing. And basically what that means is they are going into recess for the rest of the summer. But again, Connor came and he was sharing with us the different watch items. They gave us some insight, and we were able to give input on how we felt about what they may or may not be supporting. And oftentimes, because Cal Cities encompasses all of California, Orange County got to get a little rougher because LA County has so many more people. So sometimes their perspectives are a little different. So Connor's very helpful in making sure that our Orange County voice gets a little more oomph. And I also went to the Chamber Mixer because I always enjoy hearing Commander Fox speak. And again, the pub at Fiddler's Green. It is an open base. It's a base. Like, don't get me wrong, they got weaponry. But if you bring an ID, they'll let you on. Just don't try to wander off. Like, go to the pub, get your dinner or your lunch, and then get on back out of there. And I also attended a Cal Optima webinar, and looking at the seniors and the senior citizens and all the different services and the action plans that we're trying to get from 40 and up. I find myself looking for different spaces to walk into or to zoom into to get more information to pass off to staff so we can drill down even deeper in these services that you want to offer to the 40 and up crowd. And that's about it.
Thank you. The only thing I want to add is I want to extend a thank you to the police department and the OC Fire Authority. Suburbia Estates also has a 4th of July parade that I participated in. Apparently, it's 58 years in a row. They tell me it's the longest running parade in Orange County. So they said the mayor's been there all 58 years. So it was it was a good time. Everybody had a good time. So thank you for that. And with that, we will adjourn this meeting at 8:10 p.m.